Hey guys, this is section 2.2, part 1. We're going to do linear equations, solving linear equations. So a linear equation is an equation of a straight line written in one variable. Solution or root of an equation. So a solution or root is a value that makes the equation true. So if you take that value and plug it in for the variable in the equation, it will make both sides equal. And that is a solution. A linear equation in one variable is an equation that can be written in the form ax plus b equals 0, where a and b are real numbers and a cannot equal 0. So you see that we only have an exponent of 1 on our variable, and that's what makes it linear, right? Because if it were squared, that would be quadratic. If we had a cubed variable, that would be a cubic equation. So we're just dealing with equations that have degree 1. The degree of the equation is 1. All right, so properties of an equality. Properties of equality. Addition, property of equality. The same number may be added to each side of an equation without changing the solution set. So if you have a equals b, then a plus c equals b plus c. So you can add the same number to both sides of the equation without changing the solution set. Right? Multiplication, property of equality. Let each side of an equation be multiplied by the same non-zero number without changing the solution set. So I can, if a equals b again, and c does not equal 0, then you can multiply that c on both sides of the equation without changing the solution set. So those are two properties that allow us to solve a linear equation, because we can add the same number to both sides, or in the same vein, you can subtract the same number. And also, you can multiply or divide the same number on both sides without changing the solution set. So let's look at solving some linear equations. All right, so you see the exponent here is 1. So that's what makes this a linear equation. So to solve this, first you want to isolate the term that has the x. So I'm going to add the 4 to the other side. Okay, and I'm trying to solve for x, so I need to get rid of this 3/2. So to do that, you would want to multiply by the reciprocal, which is just flipping this fraction. So multiply by 2/3 on both sides. Okay, because 2/3 times 3/2 is 1, so that becomes 1. And then 15 times 2/3, well, 15 divided by 3 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. Or you could use your calculator for that. Okay, number 2. Okay, anytime you've got parentheses, you would want to distribute first. Distribute the negative here. So negative 12x plus 20 equals 3 minus 8x minus 7. Then I'm going to move everything that has an x to one side and everything that does not have an x to the other side. So I'm going to be adding this 8x here. And I'm going to subtract this 20 to the other side. At the same time, and maybe this is too much to do at once, but you need to combine like terms on this side. Okay, so let's see how that comes out. So adding the 8x over, those are going to cancel. Negative 12x plus 8x is negative 4x. Okay, 20 minus 20 is 0, that cancels. You've got 3 minus 7, which is negative 4. And then you're subtracting 20, so negative 24. Okay, now I need to divide by this -4. So x equals 6. Moving along, number 3. So if you have a number in the denominator, you will want to multiply by that number on both sides to get rid of it. So we'll multiply by 3. Multiply the whole thing by 3. So that cancels. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So we have 4x plus 1 equals 36. Subtract the 1, moving everything that does not have an x to one side and everything that does have an x to the other side. So 4x equals 35. Divide by 4. So x equals 35 over 4, or 8.75. All right. All right, the easiest thing to do here, where we have all of these fractions, is going to be to multiply by a number that will get rid of the fractions. So to do that, you're going to multiply by the least common multiple of all of these denominators, the least common multiple. So that's going to be 10. And if I multiply both sides of the equation by 10, you'll see that those denominators are going to go away. Okay, so 10 divided by 10 here will cancel. Okay, we're distributing this to both terms. And then 10 divided by 2 is going to become 5. So that'll be a 5 in the top. So now I can rewrite that side as 3x plus 6 minus 5x. Okay, let's do the same thing on the other side. 10 times 2/5 is 4, so that's 4x. And then 10 times 33 over 5 is going to be 66. Okay, much easier equation to solve now. So let's combine like terms on the left-hand side. So that's going to be a -2x. And then we'll move everything that has an x to one side. So subtracting my 4x. And subtracting this 6. Now we can divide by -6 to get x equals -10. All right, next page. Okay, so there are 3 types of equations. You can have a conditional equation, which is an equation that is satisfied by one value, by just one value. So there's only one number that you can plug in, and that will make the equation true. And then you can have an identity, which is an equation that is satisfied by all values. And then thirdly, you can have a contradiction, which is an equation that is satisfied by no values. So on this first one, this is where you can just solve the equation and you get a value, and that's the solution. On the second one, what's going to end up happening is you're going to end up with something like 2 equals 2. And since that is always true, the solution is any real number. Or you could say infinite solutions. And then the contradiction, it's satisfied by no values. So that's if you end up with something like 3 equals 0. Well, 3 doesn't equal 0, so that's going to be satisfied by no values. There's nothing you could plug in that would make that true. So you would just say no solution. Another name for this contradiction equation is called, they'll call it an inconsistent equation. Okay, so either one, contradiction or inconsistent. Okay, let's try looking at these equations and determining whether they are conditional, identity, or a contradiction. Okay, so let's just try solving the equation. Okay, so because I was able to solve that and actually get a value, one single value, that is a solution. This is a conditional equation. All right, let's look at the next one. Okay, so distribute the 7. And I'll subtract this 10. Subtract this 14x to the other side. Okay, notice I subtracted the 14x and all of my x's suddenly disappeared because I had 14x on both sides. But now I have 0 equals negative 45, which is obviously not a true statement. So if you get something like that where it's not true, that's going to be your contradiction. And also, you would say there is no solution there. If you solved this equation, if you were looking for the solution, you would say there's no solution. All right, number 8. Distribute. And combine like terms. Okay, move everything that has an x to one side, so I'll add this x over. Both of my x's cancel and I'm left with 3 equals 3. Well, that is a true statement. So that's one where you'll have all real numbers for your solution. But we're asked what type of equation this is, so this would be your identity. Identity.